You are listening to Wild HOA Situations. I still cannot believe it happened. The woman in the fuchsia blazer is already shouting before I can get my keys out of the car. Your windows are mirrored. They are blinding traffic. You are removing that film by Friday, or we are fining you $200 per day. I stop halfway up my driveway in Philadelphia and stare at Julie Nelson, head of compliance for the Redwood Meadows Association, standing on my lawn with a flashlight in one hand and a stack of neon sticky notes in the other, even though it is 3 in the afternoon. The sun is brutal today, and yeah, my living room windows have a light reflective tint. But mirrored? That is a stretch. I moved here 6 months ago because I wanted a clean slate after a rough year, and this neighborhood looked quiet. What I did not know was that Redwood Meadows is a place where fines replace conversations and neighbors report each other constantly. I work in facilities management and I hate paperwork. So when Julie started leaving violation notices on my door 2 weeks ago, I ignored them. Big mistake. She waves the flashlight at me like a spotlight even though the sun is doing all the work. I installed a privacy film on the living room windows last month because I work nights half the time and I needed to block the glare so I could sleep during the day. The film is not mirrored. It is just a standard heat reduction tint you can buy at any hardware store. But Julie does not care about facts. This is not a debate, she says, jabbing the flashlight toward my face. Property values matter. I can see the veins standing out on her neck. Behind her, a delivery van slows down and the driver, a guy named Marcus who drops packages here twice a week, leans out and gives me a look that says good luck. I take a breath and try to keep my voice level. Julie, the film is for privacy. It is not mirrored. If you stand at the right angle in direct sun, sure, there is some reflection, but that is true for any window. She cuts me off. I have photographs, she says, holding up her phone. I documented the glare at 9 this morning. You are creating a hazard. The standards clearly state that exterior modifications must maintain aesthetic harmony. Your windows look like a nightclub. I almost laugh, but she is dead serious. The neon sticky notes in her hand are fluttering in the breeze, and I can see she has written violation notice in bold letters on every single one. I ask her to show me the exact section in the standards that says I cannot have window film. She taps her phone screen. Section 12.4, she says. External alterations that impact visual uniformity require advance approval. You did not submit an architectural review request. I feel my jaw tighten. I checked the standards before I installed the film. Section 12.4 is about paint colors and exterior structures. Windows are not mentioned. But Julie is already talking over me. Pay the fine or we escalate, she says. You cannot fight the HOA. That line lands like a threat, and I know she means it. The Redwood Meadows Board has a reputation for crushing anyone who pushes back. I tell her I will review the standards tonight and get back to her. She shakes her head. You have until Friday, she repeats. Then she sticks one of the neon notes on my mailbox and walks back to her white sedan parked across the street. I watch her go, and I notice Marcus, the delivery driver, is still sitting in his van watching the whole thing. He gives me a small nod before he drives off. I pull out my phone and take a picture of the sticky note. The handwriting is all caps except for the word notice, and it says compliance violation, window modification, remove reflective material by end of business Friday or face daily fines. I feel the anger starting to build, but I push it down. I have dealt with worse. I have handled building code inspectors who were actual professionals. Julie Nelson is just a neighbor with a clipboard and too much free time. Inside, I drop my keys on the counter and pull up the HOA portal on my laptop. I want to see if anyone else has been cited for window film. The portal is a mess of threads and complaints, and it takes me 20 minutes to find the architectural review archive. What I find makes my blood pressure spike. 3 houses on Maple Court have the exact same privacy film I installed. I can see it in the photos residents posted last year when they were asking about energy efficiency upgrades. None of them were cited. None of them submitted review requests. I screenshot everything and save it to a folder. Then I scroll down and find a comment thread from this morning. Someone with the username MeadowWatch47 posted a blurry photo of my house with the caption, "Why does this guy get to have mirrored windows? Looks shady. HOA should be fining him daily." The thread has 15 replies, all agreeing. I do not recognize most of the usernames, but the tone is nasty. One comment says, "Probably hiding something," which is ridiculous. I close the laptop and stand at the living room window. The film does create a slight reflection when the sun hits it directly, but it is no worse than a dozen other houses I can see from here. This is not about safety or aesthetics. This is about control. Julie wants to make an example out of me because I am new and I did not ask permission. I think about my last place, a cheap rental in a neighborhood where no one cared what you did as long as you paid rent. I left because I wanted stability, a place I could actually own. Now I am looking at daily fines and the possibility of losing the home I worked for without missing work to fight this nonsense. That night I print out the standards packet and go through it line by line. Section 12.4 does mention visual uniformity, but the examples given are all about paint, siding, and landscaping. There is nothing about windows. I find another section, 14.2, that talks about energy efficiency upgrades and specifically says, homeowners are encouraged to install window treatments that reduce heat gain as long as they do not alter the exterior structure. I highlight that sentence and make a note. Then I find the clause that Julie conveniently left out. It says modifications that are reversible and do not require permanent alteration are exempt from the advance approval process. Window film is about as reversible as it gets. You can peel it off in an hour. I email the board the next morning with my findings. I keep it professional. I attach the screenshots from the portal showing the other houses with identical film. I cite section 14.2. I explain that the film is temporary, reversible, and installed for energy efficiency and privacy. I close by asking them to rescind the violation notice. I hit send and feel a small sense of relief. Maybe this will be enough. Maybe Julie will back off once the board sees the evidence. 2 hours later, I get a reply. It is from Julie, and she has copied the HOA attorney, a guy named Donald Vreeland. The email is cold. She writes, "Your interpretation of section 14.2 is incorrect. The board has determined that reflective window film creates a visual disruption that impacts the community standard. The violation stands. You are required to remove the film by end of business Friday, December 6th, or you will be assessed a fine of $200 per day beginning Saturday, December 7th. Please direct any further questions to our legal counsel." Below her signature is a block of legalese from Vreeland that basically says the same thing in 5 paragraphs. I read the email twice and feel my hands start to shake. She is threatening me with an attorney now. She is trying to intimidate me into giving up. I forward the email to a buddy of mine who works in property law and ask him if this is even enforceable. He replies within an hour. He says, HOAs have a lot of power, but they also have to follow their own rules. If the standards do not explicitly ban window film, and if other homeowners have it without being cited, then this is selective enforcement. He tells me to document everything, get witness statements if possible, and be ready to fight at the board level. He also warns me that fighting an HOA is expensive and exhausting, and most people just give in. I think about that for a long time. I think about the money I have in savings and the time I would have to take off work to deal with hearings and legal fees. I think about Julie standing on my lawn with her flashlight and her neon sticky notes. convinced she is protecting the neighborhood from some imaginary threat. And I think about the ability to stay in the home I worked for without missing work, which is what this really comes down to. If I back down now, Julie wins. If I keep pushing, I might lose everything anyway. But I also have something she does not know about yet. The next day, Julie escalates. I come home from work and find a formal inspection notice taped to my front door. It is on HOA letterhead and signed by her. The notice says an exterior compliance inspection has been scheduled for tomorrow at 10 in the morning, and my presence is required. Failure to attend will result in automatic violation confirmation and immediate fining. I crumple the notice and shove it in my pocket. She is not even trying to hide the harassment anymore. An inspection for window film? That is absurd. But I know what she is doing. She wants to document the violation in person, with photos and measurements, so she can build a case that looks official. I text Marcus, the delivery driver, that night. I know it is a long shot, but he saw the initial confrontation, and I need someone who can back me up. He replies fast. Yeah, I saw the whole thing, he writes. She was way out of line. You want me to write a statement? I tell him yes, and he sends me 3 paragraphs an hour later. He describes Julie blocking my driveway, shouting about the windows, waving her flashlight around like a weapon. He writes that he delivers to Redwood Meadows 5 days a week, and he has never seen anyone else get cited for window film. He ends with, the guy in the charcoal jacket seemed calm and reasonable. The HOA lady seemed unhinged. I save the statement and feel a little less alone. The inspection happens exactly as I expect. Julie shows up at 10 with another board member, a quiet guy named Ron who looks like he would rather be anywhere else. She has a tablet and a tape measure. She takes photos of my windows from 6 different angles, narrating each shot like she is documenting a crime scene. Reflective surface visible from street level, she says. Glare intensity sufficient to impact driver visibility. Ron just nods and writes things down. I stand on my porch in my charcoal gray jacket and watch the whole performance. When she is done, she walks up to me and hands me a printed copy of the inspection report. Your windows are confirmed non-compliant, she says. This is not a debate. Property values matter. I bite back the urge to tell her exactly what I think. Instead, I say, I have proof that other homes have the same film. She does not even blink. Those cases are under review, she says, which is a lie. I checked the portal again last night. No new violations have been posted. I let her leave without another word, but I am done playing defense. That afternoon, I go to every house on Maple Court with window film and knock on doors. 2 people answer. One of them, a retired teacher named Linda, tells me she installed her film 3 years ago and never heard a word from the HOA. The other, a young couple, says the same thing. I ask if they would be willing to sign a statement, and they both agree. By evening, I have 3 witness statements and a dozen photos showing their windows. I also pull my doorbell camera footage from the day Julie first showed up. The footage shows her arriving in her white sedan, marching onto my lawn without permission, and shouting at me for 90 seconds before I even got out of my car. It is perfect evidence of harassment. Friday arrives, and I do not remove the film. I know what is coming. At 5 that evening, I get an email from Donald Vreeland, the HOA attorney. It is a formal demand letter, 2 pages long, full of whereas and pursuant to. The key line is at the end. You are hereby notified that the Redwood Meadows Association intends to pursue all available remedies, including daily fines, line holder action, and legal costs recovery, if you do not comply with the board order within 72 hours. I read it twice and feel the weight of it. A lien means they can force a sale of my house. Legal costs recovery means I could be on the hook for their attorney fees even if I win. This is the nuclear option. And Julie pushed the button. I call my property law buddy again. He reads the demand letter and curses. They are serious, he says. You need to respond in writing, cite your evidence, and demand a hearing. Do not let them railroad you. If you can prove selective enforcement, you have a shot. But you need to move fast. The board meeting is in 2 weeks. Get on the agenda. I thank him and hang up. Then I draft a response to Vreeland. I keep it factual. I cite section 14.2. I attach the witness statements from Marcus, Linda, and the couple on Maple Court. I attach the portal screenshots showing the other homes. I attach the doorbell footage showing Julie trespassing and harassing me. I close by demanding a hearing before the full board and requesting that all fines be suspended pending resolution. I send it and copy the entire board, not just Julie. The response comes fast. Julie emails me directly. No attorney this time. She writes, "You are making this harder than it needs to be. Pay the fine or we escalate further. You cannot fight the HOA." There it is again, that same line. She thinks I am going to fold. I reply with one sentence. I have proof you cannot explain, and the board meeting is in 12 days. Let them decide. I hit send and feel a surge of adrenaline. The room feels very quiet. Over the next week, things get weird. Julie starts showing up at random times, always with her flashlight and her neon sticky notes, always finding some new angle to document. One morning she stands at the curb and films my windows for 10 minutes straight. Another day she leaves a sticky note on my mailbox that says glare visible from intersection, pedestrian safety concern. I save every note and add them to my evidence file. Marcus sees her twice and texts me each time. She is obsessed, he writes. This is not normal. I agree, but I also know she is trying to provoke me into doing something stupid. I stay calm. I keep my distance. I do not engage. Then Julie makes a mistake. She posts on the HOA portal under her real name. She writes, "Homeowner at 428 Oakwood refuses to comply with board order. Claims exemption under Section 14. Board should consider legal action to enforce standards and protect community values." She tags the post with my address. Within an hour, the thread explodes. Neighbors I have never met are piling on, calling me selfish, accusing me of lowering property values, demanding the board take action. But buried in the replies is something I did not expect. A guy named Paul, who lives 2 streets over, writes, "I have the same film on my sunroom windows and I never got a violation notice. Why is this guy being targeted?" Another person chimes in with, "I thought energy-efficient upgrades were encouraged. This seems like selective enforcement." The thread splits. Half the people are on Julie's side, half are questioning the inconsistency. I screenshot the whole thing and add it to the file. 3 days before the board meeting, I get a surprise. Linda, the retired teacher from Maple Court, emails me. She writes that she did some digging in the old board minutes and found something interesting. 2 years ago, the board voted to exempt energy efficiency window treatments from the advance approval requirement as long as they met certain criteria. The criteria were never formally added to the standards packet, but the vote is in the official record. She attaches a PDF of the meeting minutes. I read it 3 times. This is huge. If the board already voted to exempt window film, then Julie's entire case falls apart. I forward the minutes to my lawyer buddy. He replies immediately. "This is gold," he writes. "Bring it to the meeting. Read it out loud. Make them explain why they are ignoring their own vote." I feel a rush of hope for the first time in weeks. I also feel the pressure mounting. The board meeting starts in 72 hours, and I still do not know if Julie is going to try something else. She does. The next afternoon, I am at work when I get a call from my neighbor across the street, an older man named Ed. He tells me Julie showed up at my house with Ron and another board member and they were taking more photos. Ed watched from his porch and said it looked like they were measuring the angle of reflection with some kind of device. I thank him and hang up. Then I check my doorbell camera. Sure enough, the footage shows Julie, Ron, and a third person I do not recognize standing in my driveway at 1 p.m. Julie is holding a light meter and pointing it at my windows while Ron takes notes. They are on my property without permission. Again, I download the footage and add it to the file. That night, Julie emails me again. She writes, "Final warning, remove film by tomorrow or we proceed with lien filing." I do not reply. Instead, I compile everything I have into a single document. Witness statements, portal screenshots, doorbell footage, the old board minutes, photos of the other homes, the demand letter, and Julie's own posts. The document is 18 pages long. I title it Evidence of Selective Enforcement and Procedural Violations, and I email it to every board member with a note. I write, I request a full hearing at the December meeting to address the window film violation and the broader issue of inconsistent standards enforcement. I look forward to presenting this evidence and resolving the matter fairly. I hit send at 11 at night and then I try to sleep. I do not sleep much. The board meeting is scheduled for 7 p.m. at the HOA clubhouse, a small building near the neighborhood entrance. I arrive 15 minutes early. The parking lot is already half full. I recognize a few faces from the portal threads. Marcus is there, which surprises me. He sees me and nods. "Figured I should show up," he says. "You are going to need all the backup you can get." I thank him and we walk in together. The meeting room is set up with a long table at the front for the board members and rows of folding chairs for residents. Julie is already there, sitting at the table in her fuchsia blazer, looking calm and confident. Ron is beside her, along with 3 other board members I have only seen in photos. The board president, a man named Keith, is at the center. He has a gavel and a stack of papers. I take a seat in the second row. Marcus sits next to me. The room fills up fast. By 7, there are at least 30 people here, which is unusual for a board meeting. Keith calls the meeting to order and goes through the standard agenda items: budget review, landscaping contract renewal, holiday decoration guidelines. It takes 40 minutes. The whole time I can feel Julie looking at me. Finally, Keith gets to new business. He says, "We have a compliance matter regarding 428 Oakwood Drive and reflective window film." "Julie, you want to present?" She stands up and launches into her case. She talks about glare, safety, visual uniformity, property values. She shows photos on a projector screen. She reads from section 12.4. She makes it sound like I installed mirrors on every window, and I am blinding drivers all over the neighborhood. She talks for 10 minutes and never once mentions section 14.2 or the other homes with identical film. When she finishes, Keith asks if I want to respond. I stand up and pull out my printed evidence packet. I start by citing section 14.2 and reading the exact language about energy efficiency upgrades. Then I pull out the board minutes from 2 years ago and read the vote exempting window treatments from advance approval. The room gets very quiet. Keith looks at Ron. Ron looks at his notes. Julie's face goes tight. I keep going. I show the portal screenshots of the other homes. I read Marcus's witness statement out loud. I play a 15-second clip of the doorbell footage showing Julie trespassing and shouting at me. By the time I finish, Julie is gripping the edge of the table. Keith clears his throat. He asks Julie if she was aware of the 2023 vote. She hesitates, then says that vote was advisory. It was never formalized. Keith flips through his own papers and shakes his head. It is in the official minutes, he says. That makes it binding unless we vote to reverse it. Julie tries to argue, but Keith cuts her off. He asks Ron if he has any documentation that the exemption was reversed. Ron says no. Keith looks at the other board members. One of them, a woman named Sandra, speaks up. I was on the board when we passed that exemption, she says. We did it specifically to encourage energy upgrades. If we are citing someone for window film now, we are contradicting our own policy. Julie stands up again. She says, the issue is not the film itself, it is the reflective quality. It creates a hazard. I jump back in. I ask her why 3 other homes with identical film have not been cited. She says, those cases are under review. I pull out the screenshots showing those homes have had the film for years with no violations. Keith asks Julie directly, have you opened cases on those properties? She does not answer. Sandra says, this looks like selective enforcement to me. The room starts to murmur. People are talking to each other. I can hear someone say, she is always doing this. She picks one person and harasses them. If you are enjoying this story, please hit the like button and subscribe for more HOA drama. Keith bangs the gavel. He says, we need to vote on whether to uphold the violation. But before we do that, I want to address the procedural issues. He looks at Julie. You conducted multiple inspections without board approval, he says. You sent demand letters without consulting the full board. You posted the homeowner's address on the portal, which violates our privacy policy. Julie's face is red now. She says, I was enforcing the standards. Keith says, you were enforcing your interpretation of the standards, and it appears you were wrong. The vote happens fast. Keith calls for a motion to rescind the violation. Sandra makes the motion. Another board member seconds it. The vote is 4-1. Julie is the only no. Keith announces that the violation is rescinded, effective immediately, and no fines will be assessed. He also announces that the board will be reviewing the compliance process to prevent selective enforcement in the future. The room breaks into applause. I sit down and feel the tension drain out of my body. Marcus claps me on the shoulder. You did it, he says. I just nod. I cannot find words yet. But Julie is not done. As people start filing out, she walks up to me. Her face is tight and her voice is low. You think you won, she says. You just made yourself a target. Every little thing you do, I will be watching. I look at her and feel a strange calm. I say, and I will be documenting every little thing you do, just like I did this time. She does not have a response to that. She turns and walks out. Marcus watches her go and says, she is going to be a problem. I agree, but I also know I have something now that I did not have before. I have proof that the system can work if you push back hard enough. Over the next few days, the neighborhood starts to shift. Paul, the guy who defended me on the portal, stops by to thank me. He says he has been dealing with Julie for 2 years over a fence height issue, and seeing her get shut down at the meeting gave him hope. Linda emails me to say she is running for the board next election because she is tired of the compliance obsession. Even Ed, my neighbor across the street, mentions that he is glad someone finally stood up to Julie. It feels like a small crack in the wall. But I also know this is not over. Julie is still head of compliance. She still has her flashlight and her neon sticky notes. She still believes she is protecting property values. The difference now is that I have a paper trail and a network of people who are paying attention. If she comes after me again, I will be ready. And if she goes after someone else, I will help them fight back. That is the real win here. Not just keeping my window film, but showing that the HOA is not untouchable. A week after the meeting, I get a formal letter from Keith. It is an apology on behalf of the board for the inconvenience and stress caused by the improper enforcement action. It also includes a revised section of the standards that explicitly allows energy-efficient window treatments without advance approval, as long as they meet basic safety and aesthetic guidelines. The revision was voted in at an emergency session, and it is now part of the official packet. I frame the letter and hang it in my hallway. It is a reminder that sometimes the fight is worth it. I also keep the doorbell footage. I keep the witness statements. I keep every email and every sticky note. Because I know Julie. I know she is the kind of person who will wait a few months and then find some other violation to pin on me. Maybe it will be my lawn height or my mailbox color or the angle of my porch light. It does not matter. I will be ready. And I will not be alone. Marcus has my number. Linda is organizing a residents group to review compliance cases. Paul is documenting his own fight with Julie. We are building something here, and it is bigger than window film. The irony is not lost on me. I moved here for a clean slate, and what I got was a crash course in HOA politics. But I also got something I did not expect. I got a sense of ownership that goes beyond the deed to my house. I got the knowledge that I can fight back against petty bureaucracy and win. And I got a network of neighbors who are just as tired of the nonsense as I am. That is worth more than the hassle. Julie does not speak to me anymore. When I see her around the neighborhood, she looks away. Her white sedan does not park across from my house. Her flashlight stays in her car. She still leaves neon sticky notes on other people's mailboxes, but she has not touched mine. I count that as a victory. A small one, but a victory nonetheless. One afternoon, about a month after the meeting, I am sitting on my porch when Marcus pulls up in his delivery van. He hops out with a package and grins. I heard Julie tried to cite someone for a basketball hoop last week, he says. The board shot her down in 24 hours. Word is getting around that she does not have the power she used to. I take the package and thank him. It feels good to know that the fight I started is having ripple effects. It feels like maybe, just maybe, Redwood Meadows is becoming a little less about fines and a little more about actual community. I think about the stakes I was facing a month ago. The daily fines, the lien threat, the possibility of losing my home. I think about how close I came to just giving in and ripping the film off my windows. And I think about the moment in the meeting when Keith read the board minutes out loud and Julie's case fell apart. That moment made everything worth it. It showed me that even in a place where fines replace conversations and neighbors report each other constantly, there is still room for fairness if you fight for it. The window film is still on my living room windows. It still reflects the sun when the angle is right. It still keeps my house cool and private. And every time I walk past those windows, I remember the fight. I remember Julie standing on my lawn with her flashlight and her neon sticky notes shouting about property values. I remember her line, "You cannot fight the HOA," and how wrong she was, because I did fight. And I won. The HOA still exists. The board still meets. Julie is still head of compliance, at least for now. But something has changed. People are paying attention. They are reading the standards. They are questioning the violations. They are showing up to meetings. And when someone gets hit with a bogus citation, they do not just roll over anymore. They call me. They call Linda. They call Paul. We compare notes. We share evidence. We push back. I have started attending every board meeting, even the boring ones. I sit in the back and take notes. I watch how votes happen. I watch who asks questions and who just goes along. I am learning the system from the inside, and I am using that knowledge to help other people. Last month, I helped a couple fight a citation for a garden gnome that Julie claimed was a visual distraction. We found a clause in the standards that explicitly allows decorative lawn ornaments under 12 inches. The citation was rescinded. 2 weeks ago, I helped a guy challenge a parking violation that turned out to be based on a rule that was never voted into the standards. The board had to admit the rule did not exist. Julie was not happy, but she could not argue with the facts. I am not a hero. I am just a guy who got pushed too far and decided to push back. But in a neighborhood like Redwood Meadows, that is enough to make a difference. Because the HOA only has power if people are afraid to challenge it. And once you show that it can be challenged, once you prove that the rules apply to everyone including the enforcers, the whole dynamic changes. Julie made one more attempt to come after me. About 6 weeks after the meeting, she sent me a notice about my mailbox being 2 inches too far from the curb. She included photos and measurements. She cited a section of the standards that I had never heard of. I read the notice, and I almost laughed. Because this time I knew exactly what to do. I pulled up the standards, found the section she cited, and discovered that the measurement she used was wrong. The standard allows for a 6-inch variance, and my mailbox was well within tolerance. I sent her an email with the correction and copied the board. She never replied. The notice was quietly withdrawn. I think the breaking point for Julie came when Sandra and 2 other board members proposed a formal review of the compliance process. The proposal included requiring board approval for all major citations, creating a resident appeals panel, and limiting the number of inspections any single homeowner could be subject to in a year. The vote was 4-1 again. Julie was the only no. After that vote, she stopped showing up to meetings as often. She still sends out notices, but they are fewer, and they are more carefully worded. She knows she is being watched now. The neighborhood is quieter these days, not in a bad way, just less tense. People are not afraid to put up a holiday decoration or plant a flower bed without checking the standards first. The portal is still full of complaints, but there is also more pushback. When someone posts a petty grievance, other residents call it out. The culture is shifting, slowly towards something that feels more like an actual community and less like a surveillance state. I still see Julie around. We do not talk. When we pass each other in the parking lot or at the grocery store, we both just keep walking. I do not hate her. I almost feel sorry for her. She spent years building her identity around being the standards enforcer, and now that power is slipping away. She is still head of compliance, but the role does not mean what it used to. I wonder if she will run for the board again next year. I wonder if anyone will vote for her. As for me, I am staying put. I am not going anywhere. This is my home. I bought it, I own it, and I am going to keep it. The window film is staying. The mailbox is staying. And if Julie or anyone else tries to come after me again, I will fight it the same way I fought it this time. With evidence, with patience, and with the knowledge that the rules work both ways. Marcus still delivers packages twice a week. He always stops to chat for a minute. Linda is running for the board and she is expected to win. Paul got his fence issue resolved and he is thinking about running too. We talk about forming a coalition, a group of residents who actually care about fairness instead of just control. It might happen. It might not. But the fact that we are talking about it is a sign of progress. I was asked recently if I regret installing the window film. The answer is no, not even a little. Because that film, that stupid reflective tint that Julie hated so much, became the catalyst for something bigger. It exposed the cracks in the system. It showed me who my allies were. It taught me how to fight back. And it gave me a sense of agency that I did not have before. I own this house. I also own my voice. And no one, not Julie, not the board, not the HOA attorney, is going to take that away from me. The board reversed the decision in the minutes effective immediately, and that line sits in the official record now. It is permanent. It is proof that the fight was real and the win was real. Every time I read those minutes, I feel a little surge of pride. Not because I beat Julie, but because I stood up for myself when it would have been easier to fold. Because I trusted the process even when the process felt broken. Because I did not let fear or intimidation stop me from doing what was right. I think about the people who are still dealing with Julie's citations. I think about the ones who did not have the time or the resources or the stubbornness to fight back. I hope my case gives them a roadmap. I hope it shows them that the HOA is not all-powerful. That the rules can be challenged. That selective enforcement can be beaten. Because if enough people stand up, if enough people refuse to be bullied, the whole system has to change. It has to become fairer. It has to become more accountable. That is the legacy I want from this fight. Not just my window film staying up, but a shift in the culture. A neighborhood where people feel safe to live their lives without constant surveillance. A board that enforces the standards fairly instead of using them as weapons. An HOA that actually serves the community instead of controlling it. I do not know if we will get there. But I know we are moving in the right direction. And that is enough. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.